Hi, Angelo Lambropoulos, Director of Lambros Realty, and you're watching the April 2019 property market update. So thank you for tuning in once again, guys, for those that have been following the series throughout the course of the year so far. So first, let me start off by saying there were 11 registered sales for April this year, as opposed to 23 registered sales for April 2018. Now, this is where it gets interesting, and I'll get to sales volumes in a second. But if you look at March last year, there were 10 sales registered for the suburb. So there's been an additional sale, keeping in mind that we've had the Anzac Day public holiday and the Easter public holidays, and one less day in April. So I think you can start to see the sales volumes are slowly starting to tick along. In comparison to last year, if you look at March last year, there were 25 registered sales and then 23 registered sales in April. Now, granted, the public holidays and whatnot, but you could slowly see the sales volumes gradually start to taper off. And as I've mentioned in previous videos, I estimate sales volumes to slowly grow as a year goes on, and I'll get to that again at the end of the video. So the average price recorded for the month of April was just under 1,250,000, with the highest recorded sale price being 1,665,000, with an average of 81 days on market amongst those properties there. Okay. Now, if you compare that to April last year, there was an average price in amongst the 23 registered sales there of 1,635,000, the highest price being 2,635,000, and an average of 49 days on market. Okay, so as you can see, there's a significant price variance, and you can, there is no secret, it's no surprise the market has evidently corrected and corrected quite drastically, I might add. Now, as far as general observations are concerned, may I proceed with stating what I am noticing is the properties that are going to auction at the moment, definitely not an auction environment. You'll be lucky to get one registered bidder, if any at all, and if they are registering, it's with the anticipation of it passing in and negotiating lowball figures thereafter. And you could hardly blame a buyer for doing so, because nobody's going to competitively bid in a market that is correcting. Logically, it makes no sense. So for those of you thinking of selling, stay away from the auction process. For those of you that have gone down the path of going to auction, I think you would very well agree with me, putting it as diplomatically as possible. So as far as the other general observation, and going back to what I was alluding to with the sales volumes, and this is where it gets interesting, and I want to talk about sales volumes and lag time, and not to pay too much attention to median price, okay? It has a bearing, but it's not the indicator, okay? So obviously I've got the sales volumes here in front of me. Now, this is where it gets interesting, okay? Everybody's talking about the election now, and the election slowing the property market, and afterwards it starts ticking along and blah blah, and yes, it does, and I'll get to that in a second, but there's a lag time. It doesn't happen overnight, okay? So if we look at the sales volumes of Cherrybrook, so if we look at 2014, and that's when the boom cycle really started to tick along, there were 225 registered sales for the suburb. Now fast forward to 2017, okay, and this is where the correction came about, started, so there are 164 registered sales, but the median price recorded for the suburb was 1,550,000, which was the highest in the suburb's history, okay? Now, what you can see is, on average, there's approximately a 6-month lag time between sales volumes and median price adjusting. So in a boom, the high median price that was recorded 6 months later, good prices, because the market is still sitting there thinking, and buyers are going, well, you know what if this isn't true? What if the market still keeps going up? What if, right? So the consumer sentiment, there's still that degree of uncertainty, hence the results that were achieved. Now, as you'll see, the 162 is far off beginning the 225, which we saw in beginning of 2014. My apologies. Sorry, the year of 2014. Now, with the median price, now just to put that into perspective, the May 2017 federal budget announcement was the one that came in and said, okay, well, we're going to stamp out foreign investors and we're going to tighten lending restrictions with the banks and financial institutions. No more, we're going to suppress the investors, and the list goes on. Okay, nothing that I've said it before, I'm not going to repeat myself. Now, that was made mention, and obviously that came into implementation. As of July 2017, you started to notice that, all right, things were still ticking along. Things were still selling quite nicely, right? And then as the year started to go on, it slowly started to taper off, right? Now, then we look at the sales volumes for 2018, and this is where the correction continued. 134 sales volumes, 134 registered sales, okay? Now the median has been registered at 1.482, right? Now, and the way it's going now, so if you look at the 134 registered sales in 2018, that is the lowest Cherrybrook has had as a suburb since the statistical data I've got here since 2001. All right, so never in the suburb's history have they seen sales volumes this low. Now, what I anticipate with 2019, as you can see, the sales volumes have been nothing to rave on about in comparison to what was happening this time last year for the months of January, February, March, and April. But as I mentioned previously, you can slowly start to see, there was an extra sale compared to the month before. So what we look at here is, are the sales volumes trending in a positive manner, right? Are they growing? Are they? Now, whilst the sales volumes may not reach the levels to that in which the 134 that was achieved last year, the momentum suggests that it gradually will start to hit, head towards that trend, looking at what I'm seeing. Now, as far as lag time's concerned, and looking at the election, for those that are sitting back looking at the election going, you know what, we're going to wait for the election, there's uncertainty, then we'll either buy and sell. Now, look, what's going to happen, inevitably, there'll be, as I mentioned as part of the 2017 federal budget announcement, positive price growth for 6 months afterwards. It's fair to say that, in my opinion, there'll be, still correctional price trends at least for 6 months after the election. However, the sales volumes will slowly start to turn, as I'm slowly starting to notice. So, for those of you that have, a lot of you sitting there looking at the market as both buyers and home sellers, that are coming up to me saying, wow, we're noticing that homes that have been on for 200 plus days are starting to sell, or new homes entering the market are starting to sell, quicker than they once were. What you're seeing is a lot of the savvy buyers, making the most of this opportunity and really capitalizing, because they understand that, all right, well, the best time to buy is when bulk of the correction has been had. So, and that's what we've evidently seen, bulk of the correction in Cherrybrook, where over the course of the past 2 years, on average, it has hit about 25%. It's been a drastic correction, but what people forget, it's grown. The boom cycle took us up on average 60% over the course of 4 years. So, 2 years and to, sort of hit that plateau and steadiness now, and maybe, let's say, give and take another 5% over the next 1 or 2 years, you're still plus 30% over the cycle. So that's where a lot of the savvy buyers are starting to come in and make the most of that. So I hope that clarifies the sales volumes and I guess the underlying factors and the triggers I'm seeing in the marketplace at the moment. What else? Just referring to my notes. So Cherrybrook, on average, typically, just to give you a ballpark figure, typically averages 200 sales per annum. So it's well off the mark, as you can see. So there's still some time, I dare say probably another 2 to 3 years as a minimum until those sales volumes start to hit that trend again. It doesn't just happen overnight, ladies and gentlemen. Just going back to the election. Now, I'm still of the belief, even if Labor do win the election, I still believe the negative gearing and capital gains tax changes won't be passed through Senate. Logically, and you read a lot of the leading economists out there, no one has come in and sort of vouched for it. I think you'll find the vast majority are very against the changes. Senate members themselves, I dare say. So whilst there's talk of negative gearing and capital gains tax changes, it's all fine and dandy to say that pre-election, but obviously getting it passed through Senate and implementing the changes is a different story altogether. So from an economic standpoint, financially, it doesn't make sense. Now that's my opinion. So even if Labor do go ahead and win the election, I really can't see those changes coming into play. So on a closing note, the rental market is still performing quite well. We're not, supply at the moment is, I think we're starting to find the supply is slowly starting to meet demand. A month or two ago, it was heavily favored in the weight of demand, so more tenants looking and not enough stock. So we've noticed the bidding frenzy come off the rental market, but at the same token, there are those tenants that are coming in and snapping up what appears to be fairly priced. So that pretty much wraps up this month's Cherrybrook property market update. So I think in summary, what we're noticing, stock levels are still relatively low. The savvy buyers are coming in and making offers and securing what they can. They're paying what the market is. They're not overpaying. They will simply pay what the market is presenting to them at the moment. And again, for those of you looking to sell, remember it all comes down to changeover, and provided you get your changeover in play, the time to move is when time permits for you, right? So just keep that in mind. Again, Angelo Lambropoulos, Director of Lambros Realty here. If you have any further questions and would like to speak to me further, you can call me at the office being 029 481 0999, or you can visit me at the office here being Apple Tree Shops Cherrybrook, or simply email me on info@lambrosrealty.com.au, and I'd be delighted to assist you. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next month. Bye now.